everybody, what's going on? Welcome back to the Dice Tower. My name is Z Garcia.
I'm Joey Evans.
And I'm Roy Kennedy.
Today we're taking a look at one of the latest Unmatched sets for Marvel. This is for King and Country, featuring Black Widow, Bucky Barnes, the Winter Soldier, and Black Panther, the King of Wakanda.
Yes.
So we're going to be taking a look at this. In the overview here that you're about to watch, I'm not going over how to play the game. I've done this ad nauseum at this point.
So many times.
I'm just going to show you the characters, their gimmicks, some of the items that come in here, kind of the general idea of how their decks go, and, well, we'll be right back and we'll discuss what we think of the set. Here we go.
Yep.
All right, so we're going to take a quick look here at the three characters included in the set, but before we do that, let's take a look at the battlefield items. We've got 3 of these that you can add on to your cards. We've seen these in every Marvel set, though it is interesting that we get 2 plus 2s. Normally, I believe it's 2 plus 1s and 1 plus 2. So hard-hitting stuff here with the shield-issued blaster and the industrial wrench, which is funny how that one hits you for plus 2, but some of the other fantastical things are just plus 1. Hey, it's a good wrench. So there you go. There's those 3. And then the schemes that you can activate. And you can, again, activate all of these if you are in the matching location. So this might be placed right here. And if you're there, you can add that on. You can trigger these if they're standing in these spots as an action. And you've got the EMP pulse array here. Every player discards 2 cards. That's everybody. That includes you as well. The laser turret deals 2 damage to a fighter in your zone, which is very nice. You can just, if that ends up here, you can sit right there and wait for some sucker to walk in there. And then the rocket pack, which is fantastic. Place your fighter in any space. Strap on the rocket pack and fly from here whoosh, all the way over to where your opponent is or next to them and punch them. So there you go. There's those. And now we'll take a look at the characters. We're going to start with Black Panther over here. There is the mini for Black Panther, a really cool action pose there. Black Panther is extremely mobile in this game, and they will be boosting a lot. And above and beyond that, every time you boost, you're going to draw a card. But you also get this Vibranium Suit card, which is going to allow you to store opponents' cards in there and use their boost value whenever you are boosting. And every time you boost, again, you draw a card, whether you're moving, whether a combat allows you to boost. So here's a few ways in which you're going to get those cards in the suit. This one here, after combat, you're going to draw the top card of your opponent's deck and store it in your Vibranium Suit. So maybe you'll take a card from Bucky Barnes here, the Winter Soldier, one of his feints. You top deck this and stick it under here. And now you have a 2 boost that you can use towards, well, anything you can boost. You've got the Ancestral Insight over here, same thing. You get to store a card in the suit. And then Shuri has a scheme which lets you take 2 cards from their deck and put it in your Vibranium Suit. So what do you do with them? Well, you can boost a lot of things besides movement. During combat, you may boost this card. That could be from your hand, but it also can be from the suit over here. And don't forget, you draw that card afterwards. We've got this defense that you can also boost. And we've got this one over here, the Wakanda Forever, that you may boost up to 2 times. And they remind you to draw a card for each time you boost it. Very, very powerful hit or defense, since it is either one. We've got this one. You may add the boost value of your opponent's fighter's card to this card. And then you can boost. Also very strong. There's a couple of other special cards I wanted to show here. Again, like I said, he is incredibly mobile, and cards like this facilitate that. You may move each of your fighters up to 3 spaces. They may move through opposing fighters, gain an action. This isn't even your action. You just get to traverse the map and be ready to go. And then a Shuri card over here, which is very strong. After combat, she recovers 1 health, and if Black Panther's in the same zone, he recovers 1 health. So very strong, and the suit gimmicks here go a long way to both annoy your opponent because you're taking their cards, but also keep you very, very strong. All right, next up, let's take a look at Black Widow over here. So Black Widow, in her action pose, leaping out of an explosion there. It's a bit of a weird pose, but it's interesting. The thing with her is missions. That's the idea here. And when you set up the game, you are going to give yourself this Moscow Protocol card, which is this one right here, and then you draw your hand of 5. So you actually begin with 6 cards in your hand. This is a scheme, as are all the missions, but they have a requirement you have to meet. So for example, this one, an opposing fighter took damage this turn. If that is true, then you can play the scheme, and you do this ability. Draw a card, gain an action, acquire a new mission. Every time you acquire a new mission, you draw from her deck until you find one, you keep it, and you shuffle the rest back in. And that's what this right here says. So I'll show you a couple of different missions here. We've got the Forenza agenda here. Mission, Black Widow is adjacent to an opposing hero. Deal 2 damage to each fighter in there, each opposing fighter, and then get a new mission. We've got this one, the Madripoor Sanction. You have to be in an opponent's starting space. You deal 2 damage to that opponent fighter's characters, one or both, or however many sidekicks they've got, and then you get a new mission. So there you go. Those are the missions in the game. And a couple of the other cards that she is going to have. Let's move these over here. You've got Widow's Kiss here immediately. The opponent cannot leave that space for the rest of their turn. So if you've got anybody who is going to be moving around a lot, possibly Black Panther, this will lock them down so they can't walk away from you. We've got over here Caught in a Web. Cancel all the after combat effects on the opponent's card. This is above and beyond the feints, which she does have in her deck. So very nice amounts of canceling. And then over here, we've got a Maria Hill, who's her sidekicks. A couple of cards for her that are really powerful. So a 4, after combat, move each of your fighters up to 3 spaces. They may move through opposing fighters, and then you shuffle 1 scheme from your discard pile into your deck. Meaning you can make use of one of these more than once if you draw into it again. I really, really like this card. And then this is just fun. It's a life model decoy for Maria Hill. It's a defense, but it's a 0. If she dies from this hit, you bring her back at health 3. Which is really fun to try to time that just right. If she's going to be taken out, you can defend with that. Nope, she didn't die. She's right back. That wasn't the real Maria Hill. That was a life-size decoy. So there you go. Really fun. And those missions, the order in which they come up really is going to liven up your play of Black Widow here. And then lastly, we are taking a look at the Winter Soldier himself. The Winter Soldier has been brainwashed. The effects on his cards cannot be canceled. So again, Black Widow is going to have a hard time canceling a lot of the things on his cards because, well, that just won't work. He's ranged, and you can have a lot of fun with his ranged cards. So the main gimmick here is that the Winter Soldier has cards that have this ability here with this star and this gray color, and they are going to be detrimental to you, again, because he's been brainwashed. So cards like this are going to, after combat, if you won, you're going to take 2 damage. Or like this one, the Bionic Arm. During combat, if he's adjacent to the opposing fighter, this is a 6 instead of a 2. Fantastic. But after combat, the opponent can move each of their fighters up to 5 spaces. Or cards like this one, where you draw until you have 5 cards in your hand, but then every opponent does the same thing. This one, a 6 straight up, but after combat, your opponent may draw a card. So very bad things that you are allowing, good things you're allowing for your opponent and bad things for you, obviously, though you can cancel those. If you have a boy named Bucky, you have a couple of copies of this card, and if you play this, you can ignore all those effects on your cards for the rest of the turn, and then you get that action right back. So this doesn't take up one of your actions, and you can go to town playing cards like this one without the drawback, or drawing back up to 5 cards and not worrying about how many cards your opponents are going to get. There's a couple more cards I want to highlight here for him. So during combat, add +1 to this card's value for each space between you and the opposing fighter along the shortest path. That's really, really strong stuff. If you're here and Bucky Barnes is over here shooting you, that's a +3 for in between. So in this map, there's a few sections that are pretty spread out, and then if you can find another map where that's even more enhanced, it'll be a fantastic shot from far away. And then we've got this, which I think is one of the best defense cards in the entire game, honestly. Defense of 3. During combat, you may boost this card. After combat, deal damage to the opposing fighter equal to the amount of combat damage you took. So you either stop all of it with the boosted value, or you take some and give some back. Really, really amazing card. And then lastly, this one here, the reprogram card, Versatile. After combat, choose 3 cards in your discard pile and shuffle them into your deck, which is a great way to get some of those A Boy Named Bucky or some of the big hits back into your deck and not run out of cards. And you can outpace Black Panther that way because you'll run out of cards much slower than Black Panther would have. So there you go. That is Winter Soldier, and that is all the characters. All right, folks, that is for King & Country. I was really psyched for this one because I really like all 3 of these characters. And I do. There's been some in the past, like the last one was one, that had characters I wasn't really psyched about. It was like Squirrel Girl, Cloak and Dagger, I'm like vaguely familiar with those two. But these three are very big, especially if you've cut your teeth on the Marvel Cinematic Universe stuff. You know what I mean? You're like, okay, yes, I know who these people are. This isn't based on the movies, but you know the characters.
Right.
And I have to say, I really, really like this set.
I do too.
For sure.
I'm like you with Marvel. I thought they were diluting it for a while. Like, okay, we don't want to bring the heavy hitters all out at once.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, but then this one, they brought them out, and these guys really deliver as far as
for sure.
how, and it's not just how good and strong they are, because you can always just keep building the strength and get somebody OP at the end. The way these work, each one works so differently.
Yes,
Which
I
is
agree.
impressive for one set to have every single one. The mechanics are so different.
Oh, for sure. I really enjoyed this overall. I mean, I was strangely like not as jazzed for this one. I was more looking forward to like future stuff and the other stuff. I enjoy like all the other Marvel things as well.
Yeah.
But when I played this, I really enjoyed the uniqueness of each of the mechanics. I didn't know like what they were going to do going into it, but playing a couple different characters was really fun. Just seeing how it all comes together and like just the different mechanics and the way they're able to mix it up every single time you play.
Yeah, I think you're right. Joe was talking about how like sometimes you have one in the pack of three, and all the Marvel ones have been three.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is like this is kind of like the more normal
Star.
Right.
one. Like there's like a good crazy one.
Right.
Yep.
And somebody else who's got like a little gimmick, but there's also usually one who's like, oh, okay, this one's a little more like
Standard.
Yeah, I mean, that's
Yeah.
a bad way to put it. I guess there isn't really a good way to put it, but it's a little more standard, more like, oh, I'd give this to somebody
Right.
and not worry about sort of bringing them up to speed
Complexity.
as far as crazy stuff happening. Yeah. These three, it's not that they're complicated. They're not complicated to play.
No.
In fact,
No.
there's nothing here that's going to throw you for a loop. But they are distinct and flavorful. They manage to make them just filled with their interesting thing, their own thing. Like Black Panther has a suit that when it
Right.
gets hit, gets charged. So they translate that as, I'm stealing your cards from the other players and use
Right.
them as my own boosts. And when I boost, I'm drawing cards, getting knowledge, getting power.
And it gets you that feeling of momentum. You know, it's like I
He's
get
really
momentum.
mobile.
I'm going over here. I have this card. I can do this. I can be mobile. I can hit really
Right.
hard. You know, based off of the things I stole from you, which is very thematic.
I mean, he can leap all over the map if you want to. You can really get some motion.
Oh, for sure.
And you know a good game when you're playing and you're getting hit hard, and you look at the character like, wow, that's good. I don't know how you did that. And that's like, and then when you get done, win or lose, you're like, hey, let's rotate it and try it again. And that's what you feel with this. You're like,
Yeah.
you know what? I want to see what these missions are all about with Black Widow.
Right.
Or, you know, and then Black Panther, that suit is one of those. I think that's my favorite in this set, I think.
Yeah.
As far as to play, that charging of the suit.
I think Bucky's really cool as far as like the fact that his cards are just extremely good. Like
Right.
all of his
They
cards
are.
are really, really
They're
good.
solid.
But they have setbacks on them.
Yeah.
So it's like this interesting thing of like, how do you play those setback cards when they're not going to hurt you and still like not help your opponent too much? You know, finding the timing on those cards are just right. But some of those cards hit so hard. It's like, holy smokes. Like, and he's a ranged character that hits really hard, which is kind of unique
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah, he's the heavy hitter of the pack, I would say.
Yeah.
He also has no sidekick, which checks out. It's just him on his own. But yeah, I really like that gimmick of I need to time the negatives right if I can at all, so that they are as least helpful to the other players as possible. Right. Like if we're drawing 5 cards, all of us at the table, I want to make sure that the player or the players at the table already mostly have 5.
Right.
Right.
So that I'm getting a benefit, you're barely benefiting from that, if at all. And then Black Widow's got those missions, so it's like, it's a game within a game.
Right.
It is.
You don't have that like, okay, my objective is to beat you, corner you, beat you, whatever. But also, I want to move over there to your starting location.
Right.
Or I want to be like in your face and trigger something. There's all these...
I want to
again,
empty
it's-
my hand out of cards so that way
Yeah.
I can draw my cards back up and get my next mission.
It works well thematically for her.
And I think it's one of the only sets, for me, that there's a synergy in the 3 of them. They play
Yeah.
so well together. Every other set, I'm like, oh, I can't wait to have this fight against X. Take it out. But these 3, they balance each other so well. Like, Bucky is strong, but Bucky, you've got to get those cards that you need. A boy named Bucky, you've got to get those. You've got to cancel out those bad effects. And then Black Panther is powerful, but you could deck him. You know, you could start making him draw cards and then just make him run through them. I like that.
I've heard that also online. I was seeing that a lot of people were saying kind of a similar thing where they're like, these three have a rock, paper, scissors kind of thing going on.
Yeah.
Where, you know, they kind of like cancel parts of each other when you play them. And if you play them all three together, then there's that interesting dynamic at play as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Certainly can stand on their own, all three of them. But they are well placed in this box. I will agree with that. Yeah. All right, so let's get to some final thoughts, and I do want to know which one's your favorite of the three.
Okay.
But let's get to some final thoughts. What do you got?
Final thoughts. I love this. It's like really, and I'm not. I know the characters. They're not my favorite characters as far as in the DC universe, but
DC universe.
Sorry, Marvel universe. I just did that, didn't I? Wow. Sorry.
Cut the tape.
No, that's not being cut.
We're going to see Flash
Shame
tonight.
him.
Okay,
Flash.
Okay, so the Marvel, but I like the characters. My favorite, I think, is Black Panther. My least is probably Bucky, only because I haven't figured out how to balance those pluses and minuses.
Get good.
You know? Yeah, and get good at that.
Good
because
is
really,
part of it,
you've got it. Now, when at times, right, when you've got that drop to 5, there's one point that was my last card in my hand. Everybody else had 5. That just felt so good to drop.
Oh my gosh,
and
it's
you're
huge.
like, I'm reloaded.
I'm back again.
Yeah, that
Full
felt
up.
good. And that moment right there made me think, all right, well, you know what, Bucky? Let's see what else you got. So
Yeah.
I like them all, though. But my favorite, Black Panther, I think.
What's your score?
I give it an 8.
Gave it an 8.
And
Okay.
it probably will go up from there, but I like it a lot.
I feel the same way about it possibly going up the more I play and play and
Yep.
play and mix and all that. But I'm giving it a 9.
Really?
I think it is fantastic.
I do too.
I think as of right now, and there's one more coming for these Marvel United Unmatched sets. Now I made a boo-boo. Marvel United. Of the ones so far, this is my favorite of all the Marvel
I can
ones.
see that.
And it's coming off of my least favorite. Teen Spirit, I thought was good.
Yes.
I thought it was the weakest of the Marvel Unmatched sets.
Interesting.
This is the best so far. My favorite character is actually Bucky Barnes.
Really?
I think he's my favorite. I love just the brutality with a little bit of the give.
The self-punishment of Bucky
Kind
Barnes.
of, yeah. It's like I'm willing to let you draw a card because I'm about to punch you so hard. I really like that play. It's a really interesting play
He's
style.
scary to go up against just because, like, holy smokes, he can hit hard. I kept being like, well, I have some defense. Not enough defense.
Yeah.
And even the board on this is great. Like that rocket, or you could just all of a sudden jump next to somebody and just pow.
The tokens are very good in this too. Yeah, absolutely. So there you go. I'm giving it a 9.
Wow.
For me, I'm giving this a 9 as well. I'm a huge fan of Unmatched. I mean, I've been doing some of these videos here and there, but I love the system, and this is fun. I think it's a blast. I really enjoy Black Panther just because in card games, I love drawing cards, and he's just so cool. Like, a lot of times you can boost sometimes, and you're like, I can get further on the board, but you're getting rid of cards. With him, you get to replenish those cards.
Yep.
You have to worry about running your entire deck out, which we've learned can wreck you. But I love just being able to keep your handful of cards, being able to do stuff, having those heavy hits with the Wakanda Forevers, being able to boost twice and do a ton of damage to somebody is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Be able to build those combos together. But yeah, Black Panther is it for me, and I thought this was a lot of fun. I love the Marvel sets with all the tokens and everything. I just have a blast trying to figure out where to be, the right place at the right time to be able to trigger the things and attack your opponents.
Yeah, absolutely.
I agree.
So there you go, folks. 2 9s, 1 8. That is for King and Country from Unmatched, Marvel Unmatched. There's one more Marvel set coming out soon. Stay tuned because we're going to be doing a review of that pretty soon, I'm thinking.
Soon.
Play it and see what happens. But as of right now, this is a fantastic set. Go ahead and pick that
Very
up.
good.
And that's going to do it for us, everybody. My name is Z Garcia.
I'm Joey Evans.
And I'm Roy Candy.
Watch out for spies and kings and murderers.
They're everywhere.